Wherever you go, wherever I may find you, welcome to the channel Resources for the Modern Creative. Super elated to be here. Number one, this is my favorite subject in the world, Logic Pro. I love all things music. This program gave me a second chance at life, and I just feel so grateful and honored, and this is why we're here each and every day, 6 days a week, providing you the user guide for the very first time, at least that I'm aware of. And so the difference between you reading this yourself and us doing this together is that we get some real world problem solving tactics. So maybe you don't know your way around the program yet, and if we learn it together, we can discover some parts that may be of help to you. So we want to make sure that you benefit from this greatly. If you haven't checked out the rest of the videos, I highly advise you do. The best way to do this, take notes, physical notes. When you make the connection between your hand, between the paper, when you start jotting down what's important and what resonates to you, that will make all the difference in the world. You'll make that connection between the physical body and the mind, and that'll be cemented inside of your brain. And look, from a guy who used to do something else for a living 7 years ago, trust me, these things work. So just kind of take it into consideration and apply as necessary. So I want to get into it. We're talking about recording audio, recording your voice. I've got 2 microphones set up. So that's kind of the way we're going to play this game today, okay? So let's get right into it. Let's go. Let's see. I want to do it this way. Yes. Yes, perfect. All right, let's go into the user guide. So regardless if you're a beginner, regardless if you're new, I'm telling you right now that you are going to get something from this transmission. It's going to kind of unveil some of the finer points of this program. It looks like we're going to be talking about recording not only audio, but MIDI as well. If you've ever been interested in recording not just one track at a time, but multiple, we're getting into that. We will be replacing audio MIDI and then recording multiple performances to create take recordings. If you've never done composites or comp takes, we'll go through all the details. And even if you have, but you haven't read the manual or worked with a Logic certified trainer, then that would be of a lot of help. Okay, let's benefit from our time together here. This process involves selecting the best parts from the different performances and piecing them together into a single master composite take. You know, Ableton just updated to 11 or is about to, and they just implemented this. So this is music production 101. You have to learn how to create composite takes. You can also punch in and out. If you've never used the auto punch feature, you will be learning that today. Now, when it comes to software instruments, we're going to be using the quantized MIDI workflow. We're also going to be using the step input recording. If you've never done that before, really fascinating. And let's see, finally, we're going to be doing some advanced recording techniques. Let's read the note. I think these are of very high value here. If you have added a fade out, it is temporarily deactivated during recording so that you can hear what you record. Okay, so I think what they mean is if you have, so there could be more detail of your, but if you've added a fade out to your audio, this is not what they're saying, but we're just assuming, as you're recording, you will not be able to hear that, so you can hear everything that is in the track. But again, hopefully we get some more information about that. Sometimes I do feel that it needs to be, the user guide does need to be updated. And my own personal preference would be that Mr. Edgar Rothermick would be the one to actually update it and kind of take this user guide to a whole nother level. If you haven't followed the work of Edgar Rothermick, I highly advise you do. He's got a great YouTube channel. Okay, we base a lot of what we do here at Resources for the Modern Creative around the work of Edgar Rothermick, so please check him out. Okay, so we're going into this concept of recording audio. We know how important it is to have the proper interface. The better A to D and D to A converters you have, the better it's going to sound. The better microphone you have, the better it's going to sound. Do you need a Neumann U87? Do you need something of that caliber? No. Will it help? Yes, it absolutely will. Do I need a preamp? No. Will it help? Yes, absolutely. And so make sure before setting up that you do your homework, that based on your budget and research and time and all that good stuff, that everything is connected the way it needs to be. Okay? My microphone right now is connected to input number 1, and so the other microphone I have connected is to input 33. These are things that I have to understand before coming into this session so we can be productive and so we can be efficient and clear. All right? So know your inputs. I want you to understand them top to bottom. You should also check your hardware settings such as the system memory requirement and disk space. We know that if you have anything less than a fifth of your hard drive space, your computer starts to act wonky. It's not as stable as it can be. And so you'd be surprised just by releasing some space, either getting rid of large video files, old documents, what have you, you'd be surprised. The performance goes up drastically. Choose the recording file type. We've discussed this. I believe, unless somebody has anything to chime here, that WAV is the best way to go. Again, this is with the impression and the understanding that the companies that you're working with don't have their own protocol. So if we can put that under the table, then generally speaking, WAV is the best format as there's metadata involved. You want to set the proper recording path, okay, which is only necessary if you want to save recorded audio outside of the project. This is actually possible. Let me go into Logic to show you. You can actually change the recording path here inside of your project settings. What does this mean? Okay, well, generally speaking, when you start to record audio, if you've been following the series, you know that all of the audio is quite literally inserted into what's called the project audio bin here, the project bin. So all of these files are audio files that are contained in the tracks area, which is here. So all the stuff that you see on the screen, where is it coming from? Well, believe it or not, it's being housed inside of Logic's project bin. That being the case, these files are literally inserted in the project session. You see how it says audio files here? Well, after a while, my good friends, this can become rather heavy in terms of space, especially if you're writing bigger songs, 40 tracks, 50 tracks, 60 tracks. So some people, they go for the option of cleaning up their project bin. How do you do that? Well, you go into select unused in the project bin, shift use the key command, and you can delete these files. I don't want to do that right now, so let me go ahead and hit F and close that. Others will set a new recording audio path so that, in effect, these files that are contained inside of this folder session will not be housed here, but externally. Think a separate hard drive, right? An external hard drive somewhere else. Now, the only benefit of that is you're going to save space, but you could potentially sacrifice performance, and if you're not an organized person, you can put yourself in a world of hurt in terms of not finding the files and not being organized. So this is just something that you should know about. I'm not recommending it. I'm just letting you know that it is a potential solution to a potential problem that can exist. Okay, no, we're good there. Let's go back here. Let me change these screens. I prefer it being this way. Yes, awesome. Okay, so hardware is set. Recording file type is set. Where do I set that? You set the recording file type inside of your Logic preferences. We know we have two major menus. Preferences being global, project settings being project specific. So inside of the preferences, We can set the recording file type. What else we got? You can set the audio recording path, which we just went over. For most of us, please just leave this blank. Let's keep things easy, especially if you're a beginner. For my seasoned vets out there, they've been hitting the pavement, they know what they're doing, you go ahead and take over. Set the project sample rate. So the easiest way to describe this is it in high definition or is it black and white TV? So there's arguments for and against. Should it be at 96? Should it be at 44? Should it be at 48? My mentor believes, Mr. Matt Thorne, that all recordings should be at 48. It's just professional. It's a way of kind of demonstrating your professionalism. But there's other schools of thought that also state that you cannot hear the difference. So I will leave that up to you. My only recommendation is this. If you're a professional, you have the resources, you have a strong computer, something that can really push, weight, then I highly recommend you stay at 4824. And if you're a beginner, you just have a basic laptop, you go down to 4424. You can always change sample rates and what have you after the fact should you need to load something on DistroKid or send to a client, what have you. You have options, so you're not stuck to some degree. I mean, there's a lot more there, but we'll keep it simple for now. All right. The project bit depth, there's no other reason besides working with a certain client, or if you want to degrade your audio, to be any lower than 32 or 24 bit. So this should be on by default. Okay. Add an audio track, which is used to record a voice. Yep. Set the metronome. So we're just kind of doing a checklist right now of everything that you should be doing. Right? Checking the inputs. What's my sample rate? So this is just a pre-production checklist. If you're somebody that works well with checklists, go ahead, write this down, take a screenshot, and create a list for yourself. Set the metronome. How do we set the metronome in Logic? Key Command K. Okay, let's keep going. Enable software monitoring. Okay, what is this? If we enable this, this is going to allow us to monitor the incoming audio through any effects that are inserted into a record-enabled audio track. What does this mean? This means that if I'm singing on a microphone and I want to hear myself back with a little bit of reverb so we get that nice lush sound, it does a lot by way of getting your singer or yourself into the mode, into the vibe. So it's never a bad idea to turn on input monitoring so you can hear that little bit of reverb as you're recording. Okay? Now, other interfaces, such as the one that I have right now, offer a direct or a hardware monitoring option for all my UAD people out there. And this is going to send the audio signal being recorded to a monitor output before the signal is sent. So if you look at my setup really quick, I've got UAD. So everything is going in through here first. See, my microphone is on input number 1, and then input 33 has that second microphone. And so when I'm in Logic, let me go back to the desktop here. All right, when I'm in Logic, when I go into my Preferences General tab, you can see I have software monitoring deselected because Logic is not actually doing the monitoring for me when I record. And so this also allows my computer to operate a bit more efficiently because there's another entity doing the heavy lifting. So this is not a bad way to go. Of course, if you want to go down the UAD route, there is an ecosystem that you're kind of attached to by the way. So just depends if you like what they're up to, which it's incredible, but it's a commitment. That's all I'm saying. So you can monitor either in your own respective DAW, Logic, or if you have a third party monitoring system, you could do that as well. Okay, so we want to check the monitoring level, which controls the playback, to make sure you're not coming in too hot or going out too hot. So if we go back to UAD for a quick second, this is my input gain. If I'm too quiet, look what happens to my mic. You can barely hear me now, right? Just barely there. But if I'm at that right level, that sweet spot, it feels good. It feels right. Conversely, you don't want this to be too hot because then I will get digital clipping that's just not attractive. It's not going to work. So it's just finding that right balance. A lot of people want numbers and figures a lot of the time, and sometimes it's as simple as just get a decent signal, okay? Get a decent signal, and then if you need to raise it up afterwards, you can. Alternately, like the opposite wouldn't work. If I clip something and it's really badly distorted, and I try and go back and declip it, so to speak, that's a very challenging situation. So it's better to have a really basic incoming signal with no clipping and then just raise up the volume or the gain than to have something that's clipped, distorted, and then try and have to shed that of its degraded audio quality. You don't want that either. All right. So look at this. Tune your instrument. I mean, that's kind of obvious, but I think it's good practice. I'm glad they mentioned that. And they didn't just mention instruments. I like that they mentioned that make sure that your instrument is in tune with a software instrument. The samples that you're using. Did you know that sometimes you can use software instruments or take samples from Splice or what have you, sounds.com, Loop Cloud, and sometimes they are mildly detuned. So you can have something which sounds cool by itself, but is not actually tuned to the proper key. So instead of being like 440, like if you tune it to, with a tuner, it's going to be like a little flat or a little sharp. And so just doing a little bit of this work beforehand will help you immensely. Make sure that everything is in tune. Is the 808 you're using, this is probably the biggest one that I see all the time. I've had a couple clients, they grab 808s, but they're a little bit detuned, and they're like, I don't understand why my song isn't really tight. It's like, well, one of the elements is severely detuned. So it's not fitting, right? Everything needs to fit together. All right. If you want to access a tuner, you have one available in Logic. To record multiple audio tracks, the record enable button must be present on the track headers. The record enable button is added to the track headers when, okay, we've gone over this like a billion times. So by now, everybody knows advanced preference pane. This is always on forever and ever and ever. I don't have surround and score because I'm not using those features, so I don't turn them on. Okay. Recording into a microphone. So I have two set up right now. The one I'm speaking into and just a secondary one so we can really hear the difference. All right. So let's go to Logic. Let me just make sure you're looking at Logic 1 second. Yes, you are. Okay. Let's close Command W. I'm going to click on the project settings. It's now in focus. Command W. Let's close the global markers G. Let's close inspector Y, I for that. Okay. So I'm going to open up an audio track. We talked about this dialog window. The microphone that I want to work with is input 33. Now check this out. A lot of people, they don't see the difference initially between input 33 or the stereo version of that, which is 33 and 34, meaning two channels. So even though I have two microphones set up right now, they're still on different inputs. The first is on input number 1 and the second is on input 33. If I wanted to record in stereo, then I would have to line up the inputs. But in this case, we're not doing that. I'm going to record into input 33. Everything else looks good. I don't want to open the library. I don't want to load a default patch. Just going to hit create. Okay, so Control R, record enables. Control I allows me to turn that on. Let me turn off this shaker because I'm going to use a shaker. And then we'll hit R and we'll start to record ourselves. Here we go. Okay, good. So you can see my shakers coming in, right? It's a decent level. Let's hit Z to zoom to selection. You see how it's not going overboard, right? I can hit I, go into the region inspector, drop the overall gain, and level this out if I needed to. But again, if it was smashed like this, that wouldn't be good, because when I drop it, it would have clipping. It would sound distorted. Not pleasing. Okay? So then, now I have this basic level on input 33. Let's try and do something a little different this time, okay? We're going to go into stereo mode. So input 33 will be my right channel, so to speak. And input 1, the microphone that I'm on right now, will be the other. So let me just do that. Okay, so let's go left here. Okay, so we're going to record two sources now. I have, here, let me bring you back in. I've got a shaker on the right hand, and then I have this percussion here on the other hand. And I'm going to record these together at the same time in stereo, meaning two channels. So that's the difference between mono, just one microphone, just this one, and then both at the same time. Now, there's different ways of doing this. I'm just kind of showing you the most basic, bare bone way. And then we're going to look at these files and kind of dissect them a little bit, okay? All right, let's go back in here. All right, so one on the left, input number 1, and I will call this perk, and I hit tab. I'll hit the right arrow key, and then we'll call this shaker. We've got two open. Let's see what else the manual says about doing this. Let me make sure my screens are lined up. Pretty picky with the screen layout here. Okay. So we're going to record multiple audio takes. When you're recording, you can record multiple versions or multiple takes. Okay, wait a minute. This is going into takes, and I just want to make sure that we're going to record multiple audio tracks. Okay. Yeah, okay, so we're going to get into that section in a second here. Let's keep going with audio takes, and then we'll cover the stereo recording in a second. So let me go back in here, Control R to disarm, Control I. So we're still on the left side percussion here, which is track number 1. In fact, maybe I'll go to this one here. Okay, so let's go. Now we're going into multiple audio takes. How do we enable this? How do we create these take recordings? So this can be helpful when you're improvising a lead or you want to capture several versions. So we're not going to do anything that complicated in terms of the music goes. We're just going to have a shaker, but you can create multiple takes. And what I'll do is I'll switch percussions in between so we can really see the magic of this. So this is going to be created on the track. We're going to have several takes, and after recording, we're going to preview each and every individual take, and then we'll choose the best one that we want to use in the project. Okay, so it says here you can also create and edit comps by selecting the best parts from several takes. So this is great. You have a singer, he does 5 takes. The first take can be the one that you use. Maybe you modify a couple words. The second take could just be the backup vocals when he's doing some ad-libs for himself. Okay, an example would be if you recorded 3 guitar solos. Each one has its own take, and basically you find the best of all 3. That's kind of the main idea. So how do we do this? We go into record in the main menu bar, right up here, overlapping audio, create a take folder. Now there is a contingency on the locators. The cycle region is, if the cycle region is off, we have 3 behaviors, and if the cycle region is on, we also have 3 behaviors. For now, we're just leaving the default setting, which is, doesn't matter if the cycle region is on or off, we're creating take folders. So that being said, I'm going to create a cycle region around these 2. Now, we know that we can just select the regions in question, hit Command U. That's probably the easiest way of doing this. But there's also another really cool way if you want to create your locators. And so let me just show you that really quick. Here. Okay, So let's say I wanted these cycle locators to be around 1 and 5. What's another way? If you go into the key command window, I'm going to say set locator left numerically. So I've set this up as option, command, left arrow key, and right. So check this out. Option, command, left arrow key, and the number I will set for this locator is 1. Option, command, right arrow key is 5. And so that's a lot faster than trying to do all of this manually. I want to give you the best methodologies available on the market so you can move quickly. This doesn't have to be complicated. If you're new, all you got to do is pause the video right there, go back, take another listen. If this really is not like a natural thing for you, believe me, it was once for me. Take the notes necessary, then go over it step by step by step. You'll find it. You'll get it. Okay, so from there, I've created my cycle. I'm back to my shaker track here, and I'm going to do 3 consecutive recordings. Now, remember, there is a contingency, and it says, hey, if the cycle region is on, I need you to create take folders. You can also have other behaviors. We're not doing that right now. I'm going to hit R, and we'll keep changing this from take to take. Here we go. Okay, 4 takes. Now, these are not auto-colorized. Let's see if there's something we can do inside of our incredible settings here where everything gets colorized. It says here auto-colorized takes, but it didn't do it. And so I wonder if there's some kind of setting that is kind of blurring that. It's kind of superseding it. And so let me just look at one thing. If I go to display in the preferences and I go to tracks, I maybe change the mixer. Maybe there's something here because that should have auto colorized, and that's what I'm looking for. Let me just see one more. No. See anything in here? Auto colorize, record pre-roll. There's one setting I'm looking for specifically. Where is it? Track color. Here it is right here. Individual. Let me see if this, it looks a little different. Okay. So you see, you got to be careful with stuff like this because this isn't even on the manual. This is only just an assumption I made while I was on here. So under the preferences, okay, display icon, inside of the tracks tab, trip on this. There is a setting. It's a new setting, 10.6, region color. Now what it is saying and implicating is, hey, if I set this to as track color, then everything will be colored in a uniform way. You can look at my track, right? Everything is colored the way it needs to be, right? Purple is purple, or I'm not sure if that's maroon, whatever that is. Right? Blue is blue. But if this is enabled as individual, now we can see that the setting is working as it should. So the setting in my project setting that says auto colorize the takes is now no longer being covered by, or being kind of pushed aside by this feature, which is region color. So this is why it's important to be able to work with somebody and under the tutelage of somebody that knows what they're doing. Do I know every single thing? No, that's absurd. I think I've mentioned my story before when I trained under David Namani and some of the world's best logic teachers, I hooked up with somebody that had been doing this, I won't say his name, but 25, 30 years, and they opened it up for questions, and they said, well, does anybody have any questions? Of course, my eager hands just went up because I'm a student first. And I asked him a certain question, and he just flat out just said, I don't know. And I thought, wow, this is a big master class, right? It was kind of a big deal. And he just said he didn't know. And that's when I figured out, okay, this is a lifelong process, and everybody kind of understands it in their own unique way. And it's important to take your time. And maybe your understanding is, if we put a number to it, 75%. Okay? Well, the more we do this, and by the time we get to the end of this user guide and tutorial, guess what's going to happen? You'll be up to 85% or 90 or 95 or 99.9, right? So it's just a matter of time as you move along forward. So that right there was a key indicator of why it's important to work with somebody directly. So thank you guys very much. Let's keep this going. All right. So we're back in recording. We just checked out take folders. We're all inside back in Logic. Yes, we are. All right, awesome. So then we know that we can access the takes by clicking on the background of the workspace and just hovering our mouse or our pointer tool. And what ends up happening is that you can see that it quickly converts into what's called the quick swipe comping tool. And so this allows me pretend, for all intents and purposes, that this is just like a guitar solo. And so maybe the performer really played this part well, or it's a singer and she sang this specific part really well. And so then now I'm choosing from the best takes. And this is why it's important to auto colorize your takes, because now I can see clearly that the composite at the very top of the screen, here, let me use some annotation, 1 second. Let me go ahead and want to draw this out. Yes, this one. Perfect. So this right here is the composite. All the ones in the bottom, all these various regions or takes, are the individual takes that you heard, right? I started off with the shaker, then I used a percussion, then I used hand claps, and then I just started doing the Timbaland thing. And so then now if we listen to this, we'll hear, let me go ahead and clear this here. Yes, and let's take a listen to what we got. So again, pretend for a moment that those are all performances and you're gathering the best of the best, the creme de la creme, so you can have the very best performance possible. All right, so that is take folders in a nutshell. I wonder if there's just any, let me just take a quick look. Yeah, I guess one more thing, the behavior. You have to hover the mouse if you want to make a selection and kind of modify it. Just you wrap your pointer tool right around the edges of the selection. And then now you can make the necessary adjustments and create the best composite that's I was going to say create the best composite possible. But yeah, create the best overall take that really works for your song. I find that it's not so much about the performance or the take. That's obviously super incredible and important, but it's just really more about the energy and the emotion that a singer brings. In other words, I've on more than one occasion taken a mediocre singer and made him or her sound really good simply because they were very emotional during their takes. So when you're recording other people, do yourself a favor and try and encourage them and motivate them and make them feel comfortable. That would include yourself, so that they have a good time in your studios, bedroom or not. I had clients way before I had a studio. I had them in my living room. I had them in my room. So it doesn't matter where you are. Just start where you are and then build it. So yeah, but it's important to build some confidence with them. Okay. All right, let's go back Where's my manual? One sec. All right, cool. All right. So let me just make sure you guys are looking what I'm looking at. Yes. All right. All right. So then now we've recorded multiple audio takes. We've created a composite. We know what that looks and feels like. Every time we hit record, we know that there is a red track that starts to show up. This means that you're in the recording process. And then once you're done, you can access the take folder. It looks like there's two ways to access it. Let me hit Command Z to bring that back. You can double click the actual audio region or the take folder, or you can click on the small disclosure triangle, which is right about there. So it just depends on how you want to do it. Okay. Now let's record multiple audio tracks. All right, let's say you don't want to use take folders. You can choose to record multiple audio versions to new tracks. You can also record more than one audio track. So this is what we're setting up for. It looks like they have one more thing planned for us, allowing you to record several instruments at once. So think multiple drums, or maybe there's a live stream and you want to capture that, right? You would do that by using multiple audio tracks and recording them all at the same time. All right, so clearly you would place each instrument on a separate track or each microphone on a separate track. Let's look at recording multiple audio versions. So this time, inside of the behavior in project settings, we're going to tell Logic, hey, when I record, I want you to create new folder from the overlapping audio recordings. Let's check this out. We're back here, and we're going to tell Logic, when the cycle region is on, either create tracks and mute, create a take folder. It looks like we already did the first. So why don't we just create tracks and mute? Maybe you don't like this workflow with the take folder. So we'll just continue to create new tracks. So I think there's create new folder from the overlapping audio recordings pop-up menu. So control click the record button. Choose recording settings from the shortcut menu. Hold on. Recording settings. Okay. And they're suggesting that you choose something here. Then choose cycle. I don't see cycle. Hold on. Choose recording settings from the shortcut menu. Then choose cycle. No, this doesn't seem right. Create new folders from the overlapping audio recordings. I don't see that. So unless there's something I missed, that looks like it needs to be updated. And just to my point, there is another feature if you don't like take folders. And for that, you would basically, again, choose the behavior. Say, hey, the cycle region is on. Every single time we record something new, can we just mute it and start recording again? So this time I'm going to set this up to, again, input 33, which is my second mic. And let's go ahead and try this out. One, two, three, four. Starting. 1, 2, 3, 4. Good. All right. So then you could see that it is not creating any take folders. It's creating another track, and it just continues to mute on and on. And this is just another way of creating a composite. It just depends on how you like to do things. Some people don't like the workflow with quick swipe. They don't have to use it. They could just unmute all of these regions, Control M. And how do we know they're muted, my good friends? There's a little dot right there. Okay. So Control M brings us back. And so we can use the beginning of track 1, right? So maybe I'll do that. Then we'll use that. So maybe I'll just delete, just creating some quick edits here. That, we'll delete that. Let's do it this way. Launch that way. Okay. So then now you can hit Command J and you can create one audio region from that. So that's another way to do it. Just depends on how you like to roll. That's it. Okay, so like I deleted my other percussion track. Input 1. Let me just choose one more. We're about to do a recording with multiple. Wait, I don't want input 30. I just want input 33, not in stereo. All right, so now I have two microphones set up. One connected to input number 1. The second connected to input 33. I'm going to hold shift, create a group, Control R selects both of them, and you can hit the key command, Control I, or just select input monitoring right here. Okay, let me just make sure. Okay. All right, so let's see. Now, I'll hit record. Both of these are going to record automatically. I'll have two going on at the same time, and we'll just do one take. So we're not going to do multiple takes this time, okay? Here we go. Let me do... All right, let's go. Okay, good. So there were two things going on. Again, left hand had the percussion. The right had a shaker. Okay, so let's go ahead, turn off all the recording stuff so that we protect our ears and your client's ears. Good. Okay, so now let's take a listen. So this is what would be considered a stereo recording, right? If I was to hit Command J here, I'm mixing down both of these. Do I want them to collapse to mono, meaning just one? Are we going to hear them kind of in the same range on both speakers? Is it going to be the same exact volume level, or do we want them to be stereo, which is the way that we recorded, right? So let's check this out. If we go to stereo, now then, let's listen to this. So then now we're getting kind of a stereo image. Something else to be considered if you ever want to do this kind of stuff on your own, Command Z, is that you move all of this information to the left side. Remember, it's mono, so it's 1. So that's the percussion. And for the shaker, I'm going to do the same thing. And then I'll bounce these so that they're in their own kind of respective channels. So let's see if we can pull this off. Command J. We're going to mix these down into stereo, not mono. And so then now, this is what our typical stereo file looks like, doesn't it? You got the left channel right up here, and then the right channel. And I should probably highlight that. Let's take a quick second here just to highlight this. I think it's important. So I wish somebody had done this for me. I got to be honest, when I first started, because I thought it was I thought it was the most confusing. And to be honest, I don't think a lot of people really know this stuff, unless you're bona fide, right? Maybe you come from a family of this stuff. I didn't, so I had to learn this from scratch. So this right here, what I've highlighted in white, is the left channel. That's what we're hearing on just the left side of our speaker or headphones. And then if I then take that same information, what I'm circling here is the right channel. So when we play this back, that's what you're listening to. Is, you know, when you drag in a sample from Splice or what have you, you're listening to two channels, just like this. Let's press play. Well, I have to get out of this menu. 1 second. Okay, so then now when you listen on the left channel, you're going to hear one percussion, and on the right channel, you're going to hear another one. Listen closely. So the shaker's on the right. Now, I get a lot of people that talk to me about this, and what does it mean? And so look, if I pan this over to the right, listen to this. Now, of course, you're still hearing the little bit of percussion simply because my microphones are in fairly close proximity. So there is some bleed, but for the most part, we're just hearing the shaker. When I go over to the left, the other side of it is true. We're hearing mostly the percussion on the left and the bleed of the right channel. Check it out. So it just kind of depends on how you want to listen to this. And there's a lot more here, guys. I love mixing and mastering. It's definitely one of my favorite subjects. I'm always reading on it. I'm always doing research. So we'll talk more about this, but I just wanted to kind of help you understand that this is the two different channels, and they could be collapsed to mono or it could be in stereo. But very cool. Let me go ahead and erase this stuff. We'll clear it. Clear all drawings. So now you know how to record multiple things at once. So again, you have a singer. They want to record live. They're not into, I want to play it to the metronome. That's not what they do. They want to play it live on the spot, and then it's kind of your opportunity to show your chops as a producer. Not every artist is going to be the same. Some people, they perform it once, twice, 3 times, and then they're done. They want to get out of the studio. They're not studio rats. Not everybody's going to be like us. Well, this is like all we want to do, and this is what we're all about, right? This is our life. So that's cool. They don't have to do what you do, so long as you make your money and you serve and you show people your skill set. That's all that really matters. Cool. All right, let's bring you back in. Let's do some more. Let's go into quick punch. Do you know what that is? Auto punch. Really cool stuff. Check it out. So let me delete this. In fact, I'll take a screenshot of this. I really like that example. I thought that was really cool. I want to remember that. Okay, so we're talking about being able to record something, but just input the information in a very quick and concise way. So for example, let's say I sing an entire phrase, right? And just to keep this on the light side, let's pretend the phrase is, I'm trying to organize my screen. Okay, let's pretend the phrase is punch in and out of audio. Well, let's say I sang punch in and perfectly, but I sang the word out incorrectly or out of tune, or just it wasn't salvageable. But of audio sounded really good. There's a way to be able to punch in just one word. It's called punch recording, and there's different techniques and different ways to utilize this, okay? Punch recording is a technique you can use to overwrite a portion of a previously recorded track during playback without touching any of the recording before or after that portion. So I know a lot of people, they'll do something like this. Hold on, let me clean up my screen. They'll set up a second track, something like this, and then the singer is, kind of rapping or singing their part, and then they just need one word, like for, in between bar 5 and 6, and then the rest of the, and so they'll do stuff like this where they're hacking the system, which is fine, but it would look way more professional on your part, especially if you're trying to work in a studio or you want to intern somewhere where it counts and position yourself as a big shot, somebody that knows what you're doing. You definitely want to start learning these more sophisticated tactics, okay? All right, so here's quick punch-in mode. How do we do it? There's 2 punch recording modes. I personally like the first because it's just so easy, but let's see if we can go through both, okay? And obviously, if this hasn't been shoved down our throats enough, show advanced tools. Turn them on. I won't go through it. Okay, a useful and common recording practice is to switch in and out of recording mode while listening to the previously recorded material. Okay, so basically you're on the same track. The singer is saying what he is saying, and they want to change one word, but they want to do it quickly. And so we want to use punching in on the fly. This helps you fix mistakes or create alternate takes for a particular section. Maybe it's not that they get it wrong, but maybe they can get a better take. And so this will help you create take folders for just words. So that's pretty awesome. This helps you fix mistakes or create alternate takes for a particular section to ensure the transition between playing and recording occurs without any audible gaps, right? You want to make sure this is done professionally. It's clean. And for my professional people out there, for my knowledgeable people out there, this does contain pre-roll. And that pre-roll can be found right here in the project settings. So you can say, can you record pre-roll? It actually does it without setting this, but if you're very specific and you want 3 or 4 seconds or what have you, you can determine that inside of the project settings. But again, it does record the information. I can't give you an exact number, but I know that every single file, when recorded in a take folder, does have pre-roll. Okay, so when Quick Punch is on, recordings occur in the background from the moment you start playback. This means there needs to be twice the number of available channel strips than the number enabled for recording. A dialog appears if you exceed the number of channel strips. This is very archaic, and I'll tell you what, because now in Logic 10.6 we can instantiate 1,000 audio tracks. I don't foresee anybody doing that unless they're going ham. And even then, we should all be consolidating all these files anyway, especially towards the end of the process. All right, important. Let's go. Make sure you listen to this part. Important. It is recommended that you leave Quick Punch in mode turned on, which is by default. You only need to turn it off if you're recording more than a number of channel strips available. In a new project, that's more than... Okay, so this is definitely not updated. I can tell you that right now with 100% certainty. I know there's some things that I've not caught or been unsure about, but part of that is because this needs to be updated. All right, so you can see here 128 tracks. That's simply not true. Or if your hard disk is unable to accommodate recording. Yeah, we know that too. So if you don't have enough space, if your computer's just simply not powerful enough, you have too many plugins. To turn it off, choose Record, Allow Quick Punch In, or Control click the Record button. Then choose Allow Quick Punch In from the shortcut menu. Let's check this out really quick. We're going to go into Record, Allow Quick Punch In. So we want to make sure that this is enabled. Apparently it takes some extra CPU, but yeah, just leave it on by default, just so you can access this setting really quickly. Okay. And by the way, I just want to see one thing. You can... Okay, I just wanted to see if it was also in here or in here. No. Okay. So the way I was aware of where this was you control click the record button inside of the control bar, and then you just allow quick punch in. All right, cool. All right, so auto punch. You have a predefined punch both in and out to start and stop the recording. One advantage is that you can concentrate on your playing, which is, to be honest, very liberating. You have a part, and you don't want to have to count 1, 2, 3, 4, and then record. You just want to play it out. So this obviously could be a great tactic. Another advantage is that you can set the starting and stopping of the recording far more precisely than if you were just trying to punch in on the fly. Only record-enabled tracks are affected by punch recording. Good to note. When it comes to judging punch-in and punch-out points, you should turn on auto input monitoring, which it is by default. Okay, so this is something that we're utilizing by default. This setting allows you to hear the input signal only during the actual recording. Okay, that's super helpful. I wonder if that can also be found here. Yep. Okay, so that's on by default. So essentially, when you're doing the punch recording, you can hear yourself as you're playing it back. Before and afterwards, you'll hear the previously recorded audio track, which is super helpful to get in the mood. And if the auto input monitoring is turned off, you can always hear the input signal. If auto input monitoring is turned off, you can always hear the input. Okay, got it. So you may not like this feature. So if you want to turn it off, you can. But the consequence of that is that basically you're always going to hear your input monitoring. It's going to be on the whole time. Okay, so we've already turned this on. Apparently, You can go to record in the main menu bar up here as well. I'm telling you, always more than one way to do it. Recording on the fly. So we've already enabled a feature. We can click the play button, then use the record toggle key command where we want to record. So let me just teach you how to punch on the fly. This is a quick punch in, okay? So the key command that you're looking for is record toggle. So let's go ahead and look for that. Option K. So if you haven't noticed, this window is your friend, okay? So I don't have this set up. I don't like doing it this way. I personally like to set it up in advance. But I just want to make sure you have what you need. So I'm going to go ahead and set this up as, let's do Shift Command R. And I will definitely delete it when I'm done. Shift Command R. Let me make sure I'm not deleting something that, no, I'm not. Okay, so I'm going to replace this. Yep, replace. So Shift Command R is going to allow me to do this. Now, I have this percussion part kind of laid out here. So I'm just going to go ahead, hit record. And as this is playing back, in fact, let me just do it all together. As this is playing back, I'm going to use just the shaker, okay? And then we will check out our results. Here we go. Oh, hold on. Just play. I'm going to hit Shift Command R. Okay, so Shift Command R allowed me to use a quick punch-in method. So then now we're hearing what we just recorded, but 5-10 minutes ago. And then now we're listening to just the shaker that I have here. Okay, take a listen. Let's go from the top. That's the original. So you see what's happening here? I was able to just basically input information inside of this track. So that's quick punch-in. How was I given the behavior? Like, how did I set it up? Well, again, we control-clicked the record button up here on the control bar. I enabled allow quick punch-in. Same for auto input monitoring, which, from my understanding, on by default, but who knows? Check it, right? You probably had Logic 9, and you're just trying to make sure that everything is up to standard. So you want to make sure this is on. So that's if you like this recording toggle, which I don't. So I'm going to go ahead and take this off. You don't have to. It may work for you. This may be the best thing that ever happened to you, and I want that for you, okay? But here's the deal. There's another version, which is a lot easier. It's called auto punch mode. You're going to have to enable this inside of the control bar. I'm going to control click, customize control bar and displays at the very top of the screen. Okay. Then you go to the right and you tap on this icon. So this enables it. So you'll notice that I click and now it's red. Guys, let me bring you in here. We need to make just one distinction. Okay. You guys are looking at the ruler right now. You can see that it's comprised of a couple of different parts, eh? So you see at the very top, you have the cycle region or the locators. So that's the top of the ruler. In the middle, I have the auto punch ruler, if you will. You see how I'm controlling this separately now? So this is next level because I can control my locators. I can have my auto punch locators or ruler also be modified. And then I have the ability to move the playhead here in the bottom of the screen. And by the way, something I've learned during our time together here, which I'm super stoked about. Thank you for being here. When I hold control, I can adjust and move the playhead with finer control. See, I didn't know that before. Unless you go through the actual manual, you're going to pick up on some stuff. So then, very top cycle region, the auto punch ruler, and then you have the ability to move the playhead at the bottom. Okay, so then now with this understanding, let's go back into Logic. What's up? All right, so then if we look at the screen, I'm going to hit record. Logic is going to play this back from bar 1. It's going to record over bar 2 and 3, and then just continue on playing. So let's go ahead and do this now. We're going to do it. Let's do it with the cycle region off first. This is bar 2 to 3. Good. So of course we interjected some audio information. Check it out.
This is bar 2 to 3.
If anybody can tell me why it always takes my audio and messes with it, let me just check my sample rate. This always is like such a strange thing. I don't see the sample rate. Why? Wait. Oh, wait. I think it's because my screen is too populated. Let me just make some quick adjustments really quick. Hold on. Yeah, I got to figure this out because it's always doing it. It's always tripping me out. Like it sounds like I've got one of those crazy like movie like voices. All right, so hold on. Recording. No, it's not there. All right, I'm at 48. So as I understand it, Zoom prefers and accepts 48K. So not sure what's going on there. If you guys have any info, please hit me up. But regardless, you understand the point, right? Recorded. I interjected the information. Now, if the cycle region is on, let's see if it behaves the same way. In other words, is it going to record everything inside of the cycle locators or just the information inside of the auto punch? Let's check it out. 1, 2, check. 1. All right, let's yeah, it just recorded the auto punch information. So then now let us pretend that we are done recording with auto punch mode. We'll click on that icon and then we're back to the normal default behavior with Logic. So this right here will help you dramatically with your own performances, or if you have clients, you have people come in. You can't hack it all the time. At some point, you have to kind of do things in a formal way. I love hacking. I'm all about it. Trust me. But at some point, you really have to figure out the right way of doing something or the best way of doing something. So Auto Punch, fantastic feature. I'm excited to hear your feedback and how it helps you. It looks like you can add the Auto Punch button by customizing the control bar. That's what I did. Control clicked up here. There is another way. If I hold Option and Command and click anywhere in the ruler. Option, Command, boom. Incredible. Jeez. Again, you're not going to hear this anywhere else. I am telling you right now. Amazing. Gold. Thank you, thank you. The auto punch area is indicated by a red stripe in the middle third of the ruler. So we talked about how this is divided. Right? You had the ruler at the top, then the red stripe in the middle, which is the auto punch locators, and then the actual ruler down here. So we create the cycle region up here, then we created the auto punch locators, and then we have the actual ruler at the bottom, which there's some behavior there that you can utilize. For example, see if I hit Option Command, will it get rid of it? Oh, cool. Check that out. Also get rid of it that way. But let's say you want to move the playhead, the bar 4, or I believe if you double click, you can also get the ruler to play back the track. See how I'm double clicking in the ruler? That's not necessarily going to happen if I click on the wrong spot. So just be aware. It's threefold. You got the top, the middle, and then the bottom. And from my understanding, there's actually a couple of other rulers, but we can do that later. All right. So we talked about all this. We set up the auto punch, we hit record, and the behavior of auto punch superseded it. It basically took over the normal Logic behavior, which is the cycle region kind of is the most powerful of all the various parts. But the auto punch just took over. Now, something that I don't see here, unless I went over it, no, I don't think so, is honestly an even easier way than what we just did is utilize the marquee tool, hold command, create a selection, okay? And then let me just mute that so we don't hear it. Hold on. Okay, create a selection, and then literally just hit record as soon as you hit or create a selection. You see what I'm doing? I'm just going to create a quick selection and hit R. Look at this. So that's probably the easiest and most efficient way of creating a quick auto punch. Let's go ahead and listen.
No.
All right. So, yeah, that's not on the manual, but there's some extra stuff for you there. All right. So it looks like we're getting into recording audio and replacing audio. We're going to take a quick break. This is brought to you by our sponsors, hfmusicacademy.com. I will be right back, and we will get right back in it. Okay. All right, you guys know how big I am on breaks. I'll never forget when I was first learning this program. I just didn't have enough bandwidth at the time, you know? I remember just thinking like, what do I need to do, right? And with time, the days kept adding up. I just kept getting better. I started seeing everything with full detail. I started seeing through all the matrix and the possibilities. So you guys are doing great. Trust me. You have all the information you need right now. So let's just keep it up. That's all you got to do. Just stay the course, right? Just keep the pace. Be consistent. Eventually you'll look back and you'll realize, wow, we just treaded 50 miles, right? We just went all the way. So if this is kind of a little over your head, just stay with me, right? Try and capture some of the more basic points. If you're like, okay, I know how to record. I understood the take folder part, the auto punch. I need a little more time. You know, create a troubleshooting list of things that you need to learn. And maybe every 2 weeks, every month, you dedicate one day or a weekend to just going over the troubleshooting list. What I'm throwing out here is you don't have to have it all figured out. That's why these videos are being documented, right? They're being recorded as a way for you to be able to follow the path as time goes on. So don't be scared. Don't be worried. Don't fret. You will get everything you need in due time. Let's just cover one aspect at a time. Okay. Are you going to need every single thing? Are you going to need every single semblance of the user guide and tutorial? No, absolutely not. What I'm looking for is your flow, your workflow. Once we capture that, and once you repeat, rinse and repeat, I'm telling you, you're going to become a master. It may not seem like it right now, but had you told me 7 years ago before I started doing this, producing artists, head composer for TV shows, hfmusicacademy.com, I won a remix contest, won awards before. How do you have to just start? That's just the only way. So I feel privileged and honored that you're here, that you're learning with me. If you have any questions, as always, we want to help as much as we can. So thank you for being part of the channel. I ask that you sub, that you share. That's the only thing we need in return. It's just a little bit of love, just like we're showing you now. Okay? So let's get into replacing audio recordings. I don't know kind of what lies ahead, but let's see what we can get into here. And then we'll close out before we get to the MIDI part, and that's what we'll cover when I see you guys on Monday. So let's get into the user guide, which is right here. We just organize some screens. Where's Logic? Boom. Okay. All right, I got it. Okay. You can record over an existing audio recording or a portion of it, replacing the original recording with the new recording. So they're no longer talking about creating takes. Now they're just wanting to replace. Now I wonder if this means that it's going to delete the file inside of the Project Audio bin, the Project Audio browser. We'll see. You do this by recording in replace mode. So there's a new mode that we're getting into called replace mode. In replace mode, any audio regions from when you start recording until the end of recording will be erased, even if nothing is played. Okay, so this might have answered my question here, but let's keep going. You can access this inside of the control bar. Remember how we customized it earlier? You can also replace software instrument recordings. So this is not just an audio function. This is also for MIDI. Okay. Right? We've seen this before. Let's keep going. Replace an audio I'm glad they mention it. I love just kind of covering all the bases. But yeah, we've heard it enough. So let's keep going. Replace an audio recording. All right, so we're going to set that up in a second here. Click the record enable button in the track header. The button is going to blink red because it's armed and ready. Then you're going to move the playhead to the point in the ruler where you want to start recording. Set the metronome. Key Command R or hit the recording icon. And then click stop. A new audio region is created on top of the existing one. Okay, so let's check it out. I'm going to get out of auto punch mode. I'm going to try my new trick out. Option Command, hit the ruler. Boom. Okay, and then just by way of example, I'm just going to flatten this comp. Say Command J. And let's listen to what we got. Okay, so I want to replace this. So I go into Customize Control Bar and Display. I open up Modes and Functions Replace. This is orange. I move the playhead over bar 1. Then it says to hit record, start recording. So let's give it a spin. 1, 2, yeah. Okay.
1, 2, yeah.
Okay, so then now I'm going to delete that. I wonder that still exists. So what was the benefit of doing it that way? Well, if I hadn't used replace, if we look at the record behavior, we know that we can only create a take folder or create a new track or create a track alternative. Are you seeing the benefit here? The benefit is that you get to outright just replace the audio in its tracks, as opposed to having to, let me do that again. And then this time, we'll tell Logic, hey, when the cycle region is off, can you create a new track? Let's do, a new track. So Good. And let me turn this stuff off. Okay, good. Here we go. 1, 2. Yes. 1, 2. Yes. Okay. So, oh wait, replace is still on. Got to watch for that. Let's do that again. So remember, we're just determining the recording behavior. Okay. Hey, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Yes, yes, yes. Okay, good. So then now it created another track. See, so that's not what we're looking for either. And of course, look, I understand that these are all minute choices, but you start adding these up over time, it's going to make a difference. Okay. So this replace feature will just outright record over what you wanted to record over. Okay. So let's keep going here. If you want to delete audio recordings, you can literally just hit delete. That was on the region that was recorded before or since the current project session was opened. You can also delete an audio recording and its related audio file in the project audio browser. So let's say you wanted to clean up shop. Again, you can go in here and clean up stuff. Let's say you're certain you didn't like this take. Okay. So I'm clicking on this, what is this, burgundy region. Okay. I'm going to hit the delete key, but it's still here, right? It's still here inside of the project audio browser. The only way to truly get rid of it is to delete it from within here. Now it's no longer here. This is non-destructive. I can hit Command Z. It appears somewhere in here, and then it appears here in the tracks area as well. Okay. All right. So if we, okay, so to my point, it says here, if you delete this audio region from the tracks area, the region is removed from the tracks area. What is the tracks area? This main window here. But the audio file remains in the project audio browser. Key Command F. Okay, if you delete an audio recording and its related audio file from the project, the deleted audio files are sent to the system trash, where basically you're going to have to empty the trash in order to really get rid of them. So you would have to delete from here. Okay, awesome. All right, it looks like we're going into software instruments, so I am going to sign off here. We're on page 239 of a very long journey. I'm happy that we're doing this together. I know that it will make a difference, and that's why I continue to do it. I'm going to be consistent. We're going to stay on point, regardless if you feel like it or not. And so what I suggest is, regardless if you feel like studying it or not, that you show up. Because if you show up, I'm telling you, things are going to shift. It starts off slow, momentum, and then ultimately you'll just feel a wave of change. It happened to me. I'll never forget it. Kept working, kept building, slowly but surely. And on year 5, for whatever reason, year 5 was the one. Big contracts, bigger clients, started making money super consistently. It's been a phenomenal ride. I'm so happy to be here with you. I will catch you guys on Monday. Any feedback, if there's anything more you would like to see, highly advise you to email our team over at support@hfmusicacademy.com. So happy to serve you. Be a student first, keep growing, keep learning, keep evolving, and keep your frequency high. We're out of here. See you later.